these things are already done for us. We aren't the only ones paying to have this done. The government knows what you've made. Everyone is reporting it to them. It's going into databases. They know about every penny. Every penny. I don't know if any of you have done your taxes yet, but I have. And it turns out that I owe the government $2. $2. And so I wanted to talk about filing taxes. If you are not in the US, maybe you don't really know what this means. Basically, it is on each worker to file what they think they owe with the government, and then the government checks that or doesn't, and then determines what you owe or what you receive. If you're American, did you know that other countries don't do this? They don't make you file taxes at all. And so I found this video, and we'll watch this, kind of fill in the blanks. But this is something I had no idea about until, oh gosh, maybe 5 years ago.
It is tax season, a dreaded time for some Americans feeling burdened as they complete forms that many argue have become too complicated. So, as Congress and President Trump weigh changes to the tax system, our economics correspondent Paul Salmon looks at what we can learn from other countries. It's part of his series, Making Sense, which airs every Thursday.
Taxes. Americans have been griping about them ever since the Revolution.
I'd like to speak to you tonight about our future.
200 years later.
I mean, honestly, like, unironically, what happened to that, like, tax, no taxes without representation? What, like, yeah, I think that's fair. I think we need to have a say in what's being extracted from us. But we love to tout the Constitution and just throw out everything we've learned since, and it's no different today.
In 1985, President Ronald Reagan gave this assessment of the tax code.
Complicated, unfair, cluttered with gobbledygook and loopholes designed for those with the power and influence to hire high-priced legal and tax advisors.
The next year, Reagan signed into law our last major income tax reform. Lower rate.
1986. Well, that's the year I was born. 1986 was the last time there has been any tax reform at all.
Fewer loopholes. A lot of good it did. 30 years later, House Speaker Paul Ryan told Judy Woodruff,
"We have the worst tax code in the industrialized world, bar none."
So what can we learn from the rest of the world about taxes? Writer T.R. Reid took us to the New Zealand Embassy in Washington to explain.
New Zealand is a model of good policy. They've done what all the economists think is right to get a tax code that is simple, fair, and efficient.
Reid, a former Washington Post foreign bureau chief, has reported from around the world for decades. For his latest book, A Fine Mess, Reid went on a global quest for a better tax system. He really liked New Zealand's formula, BBLR.
BBLR, broaden the base, lower the rates. So you broaden the base by making everything taxable. If your employer gives you free parking, well, in New Zealand, they say, gee, that would cost $20 a month. That's income to you. If your employer pays your health insurance, that's income to you. And then, you want to buy a house with a mortgage, that's fine. You don't get a tax break for it. They have rates less than half of ours, and they bring in more money per capita.
And for Kiwis like Ben
And we can lower the rates at least, so, something.
Contreras, filing couldn't be simpler.
I never thought about taxes when I lived in New Zealand. For most people, you don't really have to take any time out to take care of your taxes every year.
But Contreras has worked in the U.S. for 3 years. Filing his taxes now requires the help of often bedeviling computer software. A heavy price to pay, says Reid.
Americans spend about 6 billion hours a year collecting the data and filling out the forms. We spend $10 billion to H&R Block and other preparers, and on top of that, $2 billion in tax preparation.
You know what else costs money? The fact that these things are already done for us. We aren't the only ones paying to have this done. The government knows what you've made. Everyone is reporting it to them. It's going into databases. They know about every penny. Every penny.
Software, which still takes hours of work. It's outrageous, the burden we put on people.
And how long does it take to do your income taxes or file your income taxes in some of these countries, if it's so simple?
I was in the Netherlands on March 31st, the day before their taxes were due. I was with an executive who makes $200,000 a year, 2 mortgages, a lot of investments. He'd have to fill out 12 forms in America. I said, Michael, how do you pay your taxes? He pops a beer, he goes online, the government's filled in every line. If the numbers...
They've filled in every line. It's done. They're already doing it. They're just not taking that last step there.
Look right, he clicks OK, takes 5 minutes. In Japan, you get a postcard from the IRS that says, we think you made this much, we withheld this much, we owe you a refund of that much, we'll put it in your bank on April 1st. Takes 1 minute if you think the numbers are right. And I said to my friend Togo, you know, in America, people spend hours, days filling out these forms. And he said to me, why would anybody want to do that?
And you explained to him nobody
I
does.
said, no.
Correct. Nobody does. So I wonder why. I wonder why we still do this,
But he does. Yeah. And guess what, Paul? We could do that here. The IRS could fill in every line of the return for most American families. They know all the numbers. Have you ever gotten a CP 2000 letter? This is the one that says, on line 48Q, you entered $4,211, but actually it should have been $4,681.
Yes, actually, yes.
And I get that every year, and I think, why did I spend hours trying to fill this out when they knew? And so some members of Congress have suggested that
I have gotten a letter. I have gotten one myself. I had a loan paid off, and I did not realize that would be income. And I got the letter, and the government was like, well, you owe us $1,300 on a $7,000, break you had because your family member paid your student loan. Yeah, I paid for that $50 a month for, a year and a half. Like, they know. They will tell you if you mess up. They will tell you.
IRS fill out the forms for us, and H&R Block and the tax software companies lobby against it. So here's the deal. You do more work, they make more money.
So what are the most egregious?
Correct. That's it. Money. That is it. We are doing something that costs us time and makes them money. That's it. This time makes a lot of people a lot of money.
Absurdities of the tax system in your view?
There are hundreds and hundreds of giveaways for specific groups or specific companies. I have the scene in my book where the president goes to Congress and says, here's a great idea. Let's send a check for $7,500 to anybody who buys a $138,000 BMW hybrid car. We'd never do that, would we?
No.
It's in the tax code. I have a list here of stuff you get a write-off for.
Please,
you ready?
please. Yeah, sure.
You get a write-off for contributing to charity, taking a night school course.
Hey, but wait, stop. Contributing to charities, truly that's a good thing. You want to encourage people to give to charity, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't work. Many countries have got...
Another reason why the whole charity, the whole philanthropy, Mr. B's, this whole mess. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? It doesn't work. And even what it's designed for, philanthropy, being, to look good and get a tax write-off, it doesn't even work within the system.
Gotten rid of it. And there's a pattern. For 1 year, there's a small blip in contributions, and then it goes up again at the rate of income increase. People give because they want to help.
And of course, the charitable deduction is just one of thousands.
So you get a deduction in America for taking a night school course, growing sugar cane, moving to a new city for a job, replanting a forest, insulating the attic, destroying old farm equipment, employing Native Americans, commuting to work by bicycle, or buying a plug-in hybrid sports car, or buying a recreational vehicle. I mean, there are hundreds of them, and most of them are nuts.
So why can't we get rid of these provisions in the United States?
Because in the United States, unlike any other advanced democracy, money really talks.
Bingo.
And there are more than 400 additions to the tax code every year, and most of them are giveaways to one or two taxpayers. Now, if there were good reasons for these clauses, they'd put in there who's going to benefit and what's it for. But in fact, if you read the tax code, it says here's a tax break for any company incorporated in Delaware on October 13th, 1916. Now that's General Motors, but they never.
Wow. Okay, that's new. I just learned something there. I had no idea that the tax code was just a new giveaway thrown in. That specific. Can you imagine throwing in laws and tax codes that are that specific and yet vague enough?
Say that. And the tax code is full of these things where they don't mention the name, but it helps one taxpayer.
Are Americans right to hate the aptly named tax burden that we bear, both in the income tax and taxes overall?
Well, we're right to hate how hard it is to file, but if you take the amount, the check you have to write, no, we're getting off easy. Of the 35 richest countries in total tax burden, U.S. ranks 33rd. And in return, our government spends less as a percentage of GDP than other governments. You hear all this stuff about spendthrift big government? Relative to other rich countries, you know, our government is a penny pincher.
So
Also very true.
we pay less,
Yeah.
but we complain more?
Yeah, Americans complain about tax more than any other country. In many countries, the IRS agency is the most respected government agency. Get this, in Japan, this movie, Marusa no Onna, Audit Bureau Woman, won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress. It's about this perky, pretty young auditor in the Tokyo Tax Bureau who goes after a big evader.
That's a movie I would watch. That sounds amazing. Definitely can only happen in other countries, huh?
He rides around Tokyo in this chauffeur-driven white Rolls Royce, and our heroine is chasing him. It's total David and Goliath, and in the end, she nails him, and everybody in the audience cheers. Can you imagine casting Meg Ryan as a peppy, pretty IRS auditor who goes after people? I don't think Hollywood would do that.
Well, I was thinking Julia Roberts, but no, the IRS superhero remains an Oscar long shot. But there is hope for the system, says Reed.
Everybody and every party agrees that our code is a mess, it's unfair, it's complicated, it's inefficient, needs to be fixed, and the way to fix it is.
I almost don't dare to hope. I mean, it's money. We have to get money out of politics. We have to get money out of politics. Money gets in there, they want more money, they take our money. We have no money. Our government is not ruled by officials, it's ruled by corporations.
To do it big, as other countries have done. So I think even the U.S. Congress will figure this out.
T.R. Reed
Boo. Boo.
is one thoughtful and well-traveled journalist. But I remain the PBS NewsHour's skeptical economics.
All right. That's it for that. For real, though, it's money in politics. The tax lobbying industry, think about it. Tax Act, TurboTax, all of it. It's not just that taxes let off corporations and let off, the rich in this country. It's that even how we do taxes costs us as well. I wonder what how much tax we spend 2022. Mounted to, let's see, total lobbying spent. I mean, even if we're not going into specific here, like $3 billion just for lobbying. That's just, I mean, price tax inflation adjustments. In 2016 alone, Intuit spent $2 million on lobbying. H&R Block spent $3 million. I mean, this is a lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, why should it? And it basically, like, I know there's free filing, but you know, they're just tacking on more and more little things. Taking out any features, making you pay for them. It's just, here we go. Yeah, of course, 2016. I mean, this all, it'll die every time until we get money out of politics. That is the truth. That is the only thing that will save you money on your taxes. Sorry about the clickbait.